Just last week, I was looking at my kitchen counter trying to find a spot to chop some vegetables. That's when I realized that the clutter had gotten out of hand. With everything from grocery store receipts that I like to keep for a while in case I have to return something, to bills and outgoing mail, I could barely see the surface of my counter. That's when I decided to create a kitchen counter organizer to keep all of those transient papers. This special box will hold things like receipts that you only want to keep for a little while, bills waiting to be written, and greeting cards and other mail ready to be sent. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need for this project. First, you're going to need a tall Kleenex box, and you know I like to make a lot of things out of Kleenex boxes, but make sure you get the tall one. This way it's got a little bit more depth for bills and mail and things. Then you're going to need some rubber stamps from the Stamp TV kit, Organize It, and I'm using the oval, and I'm using a few of the different words and one of the file tab creators here, and I'll show you how we do that in a little bit. Some score tape and a corner rounder, and then I'm using two different widths of ribbon. I'm using the brown stitched in the 5/8 and also in the 3/8. You're going to need a sateen flower and a brad, and I'm going to use a copper brad for my project. You're going to need some black ink, and I'm using the Memento Tuxedo Black, a Stamp-A-Majig, some Quickie glue, a brown marker, and I'm going to use a Memento in the Rich Cocoa, a paper piercer and a little mat, and then some Nestabilities dies. You're also going to need some pop dots, some very sharp scissors, and I'm using the Cutter Bee scissors, and I'm going to use some of my Glue Glider Pro for those areas where I don't need quite as much of a bond, but I still want it to stick well. Then you're going to have to choose some pattern papers from your collection that match your home decor. Now, in my case, I'm using a couple of the patterns from the October Afternoon Farm Fresh. I really like these patterns because they look very pretty with my kitchen. I'm also going to use some cardstock in Chocolate Kiss, Fresh Asparagus, and Craft, and those cardstocks are in your Stamp TV kit. You may need to add a little bit of additional cardstock depending on how many folders you want to put into your box. Now, if you don't have pattern papers that you like, visit stamptv.com and click on the freebies page. We have all kinds of free digital papers that you can download and print right from your home printer and computer. Okay, now we're going to upholster the box, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. Let me show you the way to open the box of tissue so that you can put it back together and turn it into this beautiful box. I'm turning the box on its side, and I'm just lifting the flaps here. Now I'm going to pull out the tissues. Of course, you can wait until you've actually used the box of tissue, or if you have those types of tissue holders at home where you actually just fill them with tissue, then you can just put these aside for using them for later. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Just want to be careful not to tear it. Okay. And then you're going to find one spot where it's put together right on the side here. And then you open up the entire tissue box like that. Now, our goal here is to cut this section out of the box, and we're going to do that with the paper cutter. So let me grab my tonic cutter. And it's going to be a little difficult to get that under there. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this flap down like that to get it right to the edge. And then I'm just going to put it to the edge where I can feel it bending a little bit over the side of the blade. And then I'm going to cut that piece off. But you want to keep this piece. Now I'm going to fold that up. You want to make sure that you're not cutting off anything you need. Actually, I think maybe what we can do with this to make it a little bit easier is to cut these off using my Cutter Bee scissors. Because we want to keep these flaps too. So we'll put those aside. And now we're going to cut that whole top flap off. And that we don't need, so we can throw that away. Okay. The next step is to lay the box out the way you took it apart, with this raw edge up against this raw edge, and then your flaps here on the side. Now we're going to put this box back together here before we upholster the inside, and we're going to do that with a little bit of score tape. I'm going to run a little piece of score tape along this edge right here, like this. Don't you love score tape, how you can just rip it like that? Okay, so we've got that raw edge, and now we're going to attach this part of the box back onto the main part of the box. Like that. So now we've got our Kleenex box kind of put back together here. Okay. Now, the next step is to upholster the inside of the box and cover up all these raw edges. And we're going to do that with some pieces of Chocolate Kiss cardstock that I've already pre-cut for you. Now, if you're watching this video on Vimeo or on YouTube, visit stamptv.com and click on the Videos tab, and then find the Kitchen Counter Organizer video. Right underneath the screen, you'll see all the measurements for all the cardstock and pattern papers that I'm going to be using today for this project. Okay, so we're going to lay out exactly the way I cut these to fit and upholster the inside of the box using some of the Chocolate Kiss. And I'm going to do that with some score tape because I really want it to stick well. And you can see how easy it is to just lay your score tape down and rip it like that. You don't need to do anything fancy at all with score tape. So this will be the first piece. Now you see how I have this little flap right here that kind of came apart? What I'm going to do here with that is I'm going to add one more little strip of score tape just to keep that down so we don't have to contend with that. Just press that down like that. And now I'm going to upholster the inside side here like that. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with this part. A little bit of score tape. And remove those little strips. And lay that piece in. And my last side, my last long side. And remove those strips. And lay down that last side. Now you can see the inside of the long sides and the bottom are upholstered. Now my next step is I'm going to put, I want to get a good view for you, put this side flap up like that. Okay, and I'm going to do that by applying 2 small pieces of score tape right here. And then I'm going to sit the box up and hold it, and then position my flap. I have to pull that down. I know you can't see that, but I'll show you in just a second. Okay. So you can see now I've reattached this area here. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the top flap that we had cut off. I'm just going to attach it just like that, and that will give me stability on my sides. So, same way, a little bit of score tape right on the flap.